I'm an irrelevant fantasy, and I have some thoughts that I want to get out of my head. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched my last video, and a very special thank you to everyone who helped me with the editing. You guys are amazing. One piece of feedback I got is that I never actually explained what I meant when I said biological sex, which is an excellent question because that's exactly what I want to talk about this week. So just a quick heads up, I was a little bit rushed on the editing this week, so I asked my roommate if they could do my citations for me, and they graciously agreed in exchange for treats. So this week's citations are courtesy of the cat. She assures me that she's very good at Google searches, so here are 5 biological facts about gender diversity. Item number 1, some basic terminology. The word sex, historically, refers to genitals, and we add the word biological sex to make it clear we're talking about medicine and research. As that research has evolved and grown, so too has the definition of the term biological sex. For example, the discovery of chromosomes. Now, I imagine most of you are familiar with the concept of the X and Y chromosome. Boys are typically XY, girls are typically XX. And the proper term to refer to these is karyotype. Another concept I expect a lot of you are familiar with is hormones. Men typically have high levels of testosterone, women typically have high levels of estrogen, and the term that refers to this is endocrinology. All of these things together affect the way that cells develop. This process is sometimes referred to as cellular differentiation, and it is a part of a much larger field of study called epigenetics. So we got karyotypes, endocrinology, cellular differentiation, epigenetics. All of these things are a part of what we think of as biological sex, but what about the gender on your birth certificate? What do you call that exactly? Well, what precisely has happened is that the doctor has assigned a gender, and so that is what we call a person's presumed gender before they are able to assess and assert the gender they experience, which is then called gender identity. Item number 2, chromosomes and karyotype. Everybody seems to know about the X and the Y chromosome, and that the Y is the boy chromosome and the X is the girl chromosome, I guess, except that no, the X chromosome is just another chromosome. It's not explicitly female per se. Men all have an X chromosome. And the Y chromosome, the thing that a lot of people seem to be under the impression is the essence of maleness, doesn't actually have as much going on as you might think. The major difference with the Y chromosome is what we call the SRY gene. It does 2 things that we know of. It instructs the gonads to become testicles. The other thing it does is it suppresses the development of the uterus. Yes, everybody starts to develop a uterus, and the SRY gene comes along and says, no, stop that. Usually, not always. Item number 3, endocrinology. At this point, the SRY gene has instructed the gonads to become testicles, and it begins to flood the body with testosterone, causing the body's cells to masculinize, which does stuff. Or it hasn't instructed the gonads to become testicles, in which case they remain as ovaries, and the body will have a higher level of estrogen, which will cause the body cells to feminize, which will do also stuff. The endocrine balance has different effects at different stages of development. For example, gender identity, as far as we know, can only be influenced in utero. Certain things that can only happen during puberty, and there are certain things that can happen at any time. Item number 4, cellular differentiation and epigenetics. It might help to think of karyotypes as like a shopping list, and the human genome is like a grocery store. Every human being has pretty much the entirety of the human genome inside every one of their cells. The information required to either masculinize or feminize is contained within every single one of us. That information is there. It's just that in most cases, the unnecessary genes remain dormant. So the epigenetics, the cellular differentiation, is what ultimately ends up in the shopping cart. There are a lot of potential variables, and it's important not to make any assumptions. Sorry to interrupt, human. This has been a lot of fun, but I can't help you anymore. Duty calls.
For you see, this evil ribbon has come to life, and I am the destroyer of that which must not be.
Oh, that's okay. Did you use the links that I gave you?
Be silent, human. My duty is sacred, and I must focus.
I'm sure it's fine. And the last thing I want to talk about, item number 5, is intersex conditions. The following is from an organization called Eagle Canadian Human Rights Trust. They define intersex as referring to a person whose chromosomal, hormonal, or anatomical sex characteristics fall outside the conventional classifications of male or female. There are a wide range of possible intersex conditions. Some intersex conditions are outwardly visible. Some of them people don't find out about until later in life. There are a lot of people who have an intersex condition and they will never find out about it. One more thing to note is that being trans is not an intersex condition. My goal here really isn't to prove anything definitively. Rather, what I'm trying to do is help people to see that there are a wide range of possibilities when it comes to the subject of biological sex. As with last time, if you feel that I'm off base about anything I've said here, I am definitely open to that. Leave your comments below. Keep it concise, keep it civil, cite your sources, definitely very important. And to everyone who watched this, I love you. Take care.